Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Folks, it was a time where LeBron was actually going to be in the GOAT debate. I would like to say the Jordan GOAT debate, but we can say the GOAT debate as far as Kobe, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, these people, these players. And why I say the GOAT debate, because there's a lot of people out there that have an opinion of who's the greatest of all time. So some people might like Wilt to be the GOAT, Michael Jordan to be the GOAT, Kareem to be the GOAT, Magic to be the GOAT, Larry to be the GOAT, Duncan, even Kobe. But I think we all really agree, for the most part, that Michael Jordan is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So at one time, and we're going to show you this in a minute and make you understand, this is nothing against the other GOATs that I just explained or a shot at them. But at one time, LeBron James did everything right. He put his team on his back in Cleveland. He was putting up great stats. Everybody liked him. I don't know who really didn't like him. We do think the whole King James thing was a little bit too much, but he really wasn't that arrogant guy back then. So at one time, to me, I think he had a chance to challenge Michael Jordan as the greatest of all time if he would have kept on the path that he was on. The path when he was in Cleveland, if he would have stayed on that path. No, he didn't have any championships. But at one time, nobody had championships. And the guy was still young in Cleveland. I'm not sure, maybe, when did he leave Cleveland? I want to say when he was 25, something like that. So he had a lot of years to go. And we'll talk about that, the whole overall picture in a minute. But when we look at these stats, when I break them down, he really had a chance at one point, not just off of these stats. I'm just saying because he was so young that he could have challenged Michael Jordan to be the GOAT. And he definitely could have chose, he could have, I don't know, maybe went over Kobe, maybe could have challenged Kareem or Wilt or Magic, or some people think Hakeem Olajuwon or Duncan. All these great top five players that people, a lot of people rearrange their top five. You guys know my top five: Jordan, Wilt, Kareem, Russell, and Magic. But some people would throw Kobe in there. And some people would throw, who is that? Magic in there. Not Magic, Bird. I don't have a problem with that. That's on you. And then some people have LeBron in there, whatever. But outside of LeBron fans, LeBron is not in the top five. And we're going to show you what took him. He was never in the top five, but why he could have had a chance to be in the top five if he would have kept on this same path that he was in Cleveland. So let's check this out. We'll talk more about it. And we just put, for perspective, we just put Michael Jordan up there, right? In the first 7 years in the regular season, why I picked the first 7 years is because that's when LeBron James, after year 7, he left. And he went to Miami. So for Michael Jordan, that would be 91 when he won his first championship, 91. So for comparison, let's look at this. The first 7 seasons, what they averaged for a career already. So Michael Jordan, 32.6 points per game. Rebounds per game, Michael Jordan, 6.3. Assists, 5.9, basically 6. 2.8 steals per game, Michael Jordan. 1.1 blocks, 3.1 turnovers on 52% shooting. 28.6 3-point percentage and 84.9, basically 85% from the line. These are Michael Jordan's averages after his first 7 seasons. LeBron James, points per game 27.8, rebounds per game 7, assists per game 7, steals per game 1.7, blocks per game 0.9, turnovers 3.3, field goal percentage 47.5, 3-point percentage 32.9, free throw percentage 74.2. All right, guys, let that sink in for a minute. Let's go to the playoffs. First 5 years in the playoffs. And why we picked this, LeBron, he didn't make the playoffs his first 2 seasons. So this would lead up to from his first season, if I'm not mistaken, from 05-06 all the way until 2009-2010, and then he leaves. And then he goes to Miami. That's why I picked 5 seasons for Michael Jordan. I think this would take him up to the 89 season. So let's look at this. We'll do LeBron first. Points per game, 29.3. Rebounds per game, 8.4. Assists per game, 7.3. Steals per game, 1.6. Blocks, 1. Turnovers per game, 3.7. Field goal percentage, 45.9. 3-point percentage, 31.6. Free throw percentage, 74.3. For Michael Jordan, 35.4. Points per game. Rebounds, 6.8. Assists, 6.6. Steals, 2.4. Blocks, 1.1. Field goal percentage, 50.1. 3-point percentage, 28.8. And free throw percentage, 83.2. Goodness. So this really isn't about Michael Jordan. So we're not going to make it a lot about Michael Jordan, but you can see Mike put up monster numbers. And as you can see, for LeBron, he put up monster numbers too. These are Magic Johnson numbers that LeBron put up, but with better point per game averages. Better points per game averages. We won't get into, it was no big man back then. When LeBron was putting up these numbers, the defense changed. We're just going to do in his era. This is the era that he played in. So he was putting up monster numbers. There's really nobody in that era, in the early 2000s, to compare him to when you see these type of numbers. Just like Michael Jordan. In that era, when you see him putting up those monster numbers, there was nobody to compare him to. You know, when you got a special player, you're going to see that. When Wilt Chamberlain was putting up those numbers, there's nobody you could compare him to at that time. And the same thing with Kareem. Nobody was putting up those type of numbers that Kareem was putting up in the 70s. This is the problem. So let's look at LeBron's stats. The free throw percentage was always a liability. And when we look at the regular season and we look at his field goal percentage, look, for a guy shooting 60 or more percent of his shots in the paint, 47% ain't going to really get it when we look at the regular season. But when you look at the playoffs and it plummets all the way down to 45%, that's not good. And this was the biggest problem for him. Well, a continuous problem throughout those years in Cleveland. Yes, he was getting more points and more assists in the playoffs. And that shows a great player. Michael Jordan was doing the same thing. Taking your play to the next level. That wasn't the problem. The problem was in big moments, in these games 5s and 6s and 7s, especially in 6 and 7, he would shrink. he would turn the ball over a lot. He couldn't hit the jump shot if the paint wasn't open. If I didn't say it, he would turn the ball over in key moments. And the big problem was, too, the free throw shooting. Missing a lot of free throws in the fourth quarters. And they all knew this back then. He's going to miss those free throws. Put him on the line. And ultimately, it cost him in 2009, 2010. And you could say it was you could really see the future in 2007 finals. What was going to be his future? Because he refused to work on his game. He refused to work on his free throw shooting. He refused to get a mid-range jump shot. He refused to work on his three-point game, even though his attempts for that time was high. This guy would be in the playoffs in the early 2000s attempting 4 to 7 a game in a series. When you see Michael Jordan's percentage in the 30s, he's attempting 1 a game, maybe 1.5. So LeBron was doing a lot of stuff, especially the three-point shooting, that he wasn't good at. You can't try to be a three-point shooter and you wasn't good at mid-range yet. If you're shooting like in the 30s as a mid-range shooter, 37%, you at least got to get that thing into the 40s. Respectable 42%, 41%. That's what Michael was shooting in Washington, 41%, and he still led the league in mid-range makes and mid-range percentage when he was at Washington. So if you can even get up to 41% at the mid-range, there's no way you should ever be going to the three-point line and shooting those threes. So still, you lost in 2009, you lost in 2010 because you melted down. You couldn't hit those jumpers at the mid-range. You couldn't hit the three. You couldn't shoot those free throws. So what did you do? You left and you went to Miami and you built a super team. And I would ask his fans to look at LeBron's numbers right here in the playoffs, first 5 times in the playoffs, in his first 7 seasons. And you tell me, would you have any respect for this guy? As we don't. No, hold on. Let me change it. Because, the LeBron fans, they get caught up in their feelings. Okay. Let's lay it out this way. So, let's pretend it was Michael Jordan. And this was we're solely talking about him. His first 7 years and his first 5 years in the playoffs. This was Michael Jordan. He melted down in 2009, 2010. Yes, we can say in 2007 in the playoffs. The finals. You guys want to act like it didn't happen in 2008? Whatever. So Michael Jordan puts up these stats in the regular season and in the playoffs. He's a top 2 player in the league. And then he just leaves after his 7th season. And he teams up with Charles Barkley. And who else came in that draft with him? Was it Karl Malone? If I'm not mistaken. So he goes and teams up with Karl Malone and Charles Barkley. And they go to, I don't know. They go to Philly. And they make the announcement. And everybody's like, what the hell just happened? This ain't fair. And not only that, he reconstructs a whole new team of great role players. Who some, were number twos on other teams. And let's just say he gets, I don't know, I want to say, that would be too high of a caliber type of guy. I don't know. Why not? Let's just say he adds Larry Bird to that team. And Larry Bird just comes off the bench. Starting to sound familiar? And they go in front of the camera and they go to the Boys and Girls Club and they make it a big show. And they bring the Philly fans to the auditorium or to the arena. And they get in there and they start talking and bragging. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. And then the season rolls around. They can't even get the number one seed in the East, let alone the number one seed in the entire playoffs. And then they play, I would say, let me think of a good scenario. A little bit. I don't know. Let's just say they play I don't know. It would be hard. Maybe, let's just say they play Hakeem Olajuwon. They play Hakeem Olajuwon and they start taking a 2-1 lead on Olajuwon and his crew. Only to taunt Olajuwon because he said he was a little bit hurt. And then, you know what happens. Olajuwon takes it personal. The rest of his team takes it personal. And they win every game after that. The 4 seasons that Michael Jordan is in Philly with Malone and Barkley. And for you could throw any combination if you want. I'm just using these guys. And they only win 2 out of 4 championships and get blown out in 2 of them. And one of them they barely win because the one that they did barely win, Charles Barkley got the rebound, threw it out to Larry Bird. And Larry Bird hit that 3-point shot. Not Michael Jordan. We're going to stop right there. Would you ever? You know what I mean? You could go on. And then Michael Jordan kept on having the same legacy. Did the same stuff that LeBron did after he left Miami. He went and built another super team. That didn't work out. You know, somebody built a super team against him. So we're supposed to cry a river and you know, say that was wrong. And then he builds another, you know, little super team up in with the Lakers. And let's just say Michael Jordan had the same career as LeBron. You would really respect this guy and be calling this guy the GOAT in the top 5 player of all time, Michael Jordan? He would be a GOAT? I just couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine. See, because that's what could have happened. For Michael Jordan, if the tables would have turned in that year 7 and they would have lost, because it was going against the same opponent in the same Eastern Conference Finals. Let's say Horace Grant got hurt. For the rest of that whole series, he got hurt. They might have lost. And Jordan said, I can't take this no more. Pippen's hurt. Now Horace Grant's hurt. I'm going to team up. Or he could have did it the season before when Pippen was sitting out. I'm sick of losing. I done lost these guys 3 times. What happened? No, he stayed. He made his team better. He said, we got to do this. And he came back and swept them. What did LeBron do? Because Michael's playing against a super team too. No? Rodman? He was at his best then. Joe Dumars, already finals MVP. Isaiah Thomas, top 2 guard of all time. Bill Lambert, you had all those guys. They was back in the Eastern Conference Finals. But what I'm trying to say is he could have left after 90 and said, I'm sick of getting my head kicked in. I'm playing a super team. He didn't have a super team. He had one dude, Pippen, who hadn't accomplished nothing. That you guys say that got him over the hump. But he keep getting his brains kicked in. Yeah, Mike could have did that. He would have been considered as weak. No way he would have been in anybody's top 5 for doing that. And this is what LeBron did. So what I'm trying to say is, if this guy would have stayed on the same path, kept putting up these numbers, putting his team on his back, yeah, he had some meltdowns. But you learn from stuff like that. Instead, he ran to other men so he could win, because he didn't want to practice on his free throws. He didn't want to practice on his mid-range. He didn't want to practice on his three. He didn't want to learn no post moves. These are the things that's going to get you over the hump. Kobe had to do it to win 3 championships with Shaq. He had to do a lot. Dude couldn't shoot. He was breaking up free throws in the playoffs in the late 2000s. Late 90s. His jumper wasn't that good. He had to develop a lot of this stuff. He was just great athlete. He was a freak. He could jump. He was athletic. But he had to develop a game. He had to go into the gym and practice and put in the work. LeBron didn't want to do that. So he ran. So he can guarantee championships to himself. And he kept doing it. And look, this is why this guy will never be in the top 5. That's why we don't give him this type of praise, because his career, as far as the GOAT debate with the upper echelon guys, it ended in 2010. 2010 playoffs. I don't know what these guys been telling you on ESPN, Fox. This is all fake. You guys got to realize he's paying them. He's paying them to say this. Clutch is paying them. His career's been over as far as him being up in the upper echelon. He had a chance. You see his stats, you see his numbers, his 2 back-to-back MVPs. He was putting teams on his back like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and he ran away from it. He ran away from it. Kobe didn't run away from it and go play with 2 top 5 players at the time in the West. Kobe didn't do that. Michael Jordan didn't do that. Nobody did that. So this is why LeBron will never be in the top 5. Some people's top 10. He don't deserve it. He's not worthy. Like sports and fitness friends say, this guy didn't go through the grind. To go through the grind, you got to develop a game and be able to come through clutch in the biggest moments. He didn't do that. Even when he went to Miami, he didn't come through clutch in the biggest moments. Even when he went to Cleveland, he didn't come through clutch in the biggest moments. Only reason why he's got championships, because now you got to worry about these top 5 players in the league that's on his team beside him.